The AFL is a storied league, with many great players gracing the field over its 125-year history. Considering my video naming the best player from each team currently did so well, I thought I would give a recap on each of the 18 teams' best all-time player and list some of their career accomplishments with the club. Hope you guys enjoy, and remember to leave a like on the video, and if you want to, subscribe, as only about 2% of you guys are actually subbed to the channel, so I'd appreciate it if you took the time to press that button down below. But without further ado, let's get into it. The Crows' best all-time player is Andrew McLeod. McLeod, the leading games record holder for the club, was a dangerous halfback and two-time premiership player over his 15-year stint with the team. He also received 2 Norm Smith medals with Adelaide, along with 5 All-Australian nods and 3 club best and fairest, capping off an extensive awards cabinet. Over his career, McLeod averaged 20 disposals, 0.8 goals, 3 marks and 2 tackles per game, showcasing his talent and running capabilities as one of the best halfbacks of all time. An honourable mention for this position goes to the 2003 Brownlow medalist Mark Rasciuto. Michael Voss is the best player ever from Brisbane. A 3-time premiership player, Voss captained the side through its best period in club history from the 2001 to 2003 season. Some of Voss's other career accolades include a Brownlow medal, 5 All-Australian nods and 3 club best and fairests. Over his career, Voss amassed averages of 21 disposals, 0.8 goals, 4 marks and 2 tackles per game. An honourable mention here goes to Simon Black, who was another outstanding player for the club. The Blues' best all-time player is John Nichols. As a 3-time VFL Premier and 5-time club best and fairest winner, it was hard not to put Nichols as Carlton's all-time best player. As the Blues captain from 1968 to 1974, Nichols was included in the AFL Team of the Century. Over his career, Nichols averaged 13 disposals, 3 marks and a goal per game in his seasons played where stats were recorded, amassing just about half of his career with the team. Shout out to club champion Stephen Silvani, who is another honourable mention here. Nathan Buckley is the best player ever from the Magpies. A significant figure at the club through both his playing and coaching career, there was not a player who rivaled to take this title from Buckley. Some of his achievements at the club include a Brownlow medal, a Norm Smith, 6 best and fairest and 7 All-Australian nods. Bucks averaged an astonishing 25 disposals, 5 marks, 1 goal and 2 tackles per game over his career. An honourable mention for this spot goes to Scott Pendlebury, who has been an integral figure at the club for over a decade. The Bombers' best all-time player is John Coleman. A historic figure who set countless records in a somewhat short career, Coleman's legacy lives on through the Coleman Medal, an achievement which is awarded to the top goal scorer in the AFL every season. In his career, Coleman averaged 5.5 goals per game, a feat which has not been broken to this day, even by the all-time AFL leading goal scorer Tony Lockett. Some of Coleman's career accolades include 2 VFL premierships, 1 All-Australian nod and 1 club best and fairest. An honourable mention here goes to James Hird, as it was very difficult to vote against his illustrious career with the Bombers. Nat Fyfe is the best player ever from Freo. The 2-time Brownlow medalist has helped the club to some of its best seasons in its somewhat brief history, leading the team to a grand final appearance in 2013. Along with 2 Brownlows, Fyfe has also received 3 All-Australian nods and 3 club best and fairests. Over his career so far, Fyfe has averaged 25 disposals, 4 marks, 4 tackles and 0.8 goals per game. Shout out to Matthew Pavlich, as he was another key player in the club's history and someone I considered for this position for the Dockers. The Cats' best all-time player is Gary Ablett Sr. Renowned for his second-to-none goal-kicking and marking ability, Ablett Sr. received many accolades over his career, including a Norm Smith and 3 Coleman medals. Nicknamed God, Gary also received 4 All-Australian nods and was the club leading goal kicker for 8 years that he was with the team. In his career, Gary Sr. also averaged 15 disposals, 6 marks and 3 goals per game. Other considerations for the Cats included Joel Selwood and Gary Ablett Jr. And carrying on the family tradition, Gary Ablett Jr. is the best player ever to lace up for the Gold Coast Suns. Widely regarded as one of the greatest players of all time, while being a better player than his dad in my humble opinion, Gaz carried the Suns for many years, despite lacking help. Gary amassed awards such as a Brownlow medal, 4 All-Australian nods and 4 club best and fairest over his time at Gold Coast. Over his career, Gaz averaged 25 disposals, 3 marks, 1 goal and 4 tackles per game. There are no real honourable mentions here, but Tuke Miller may be in contention in a couple of years' time. The Giants' best all-time player is Toby Green. This was a difficult position to award, obviously due to GWS's brief history as a club in the league. I chose Toby due to his influence on the Giants team's overall success, especially during the past 3 or 4 years. Toby has amassed awards such as 2 All-Australian nods and 1 club best and fairest, and has averaged 22 disposals, 5 marks, 1.3 goals and 3 tackles per game over his career at the Giants so far. An honourable mention goes to Callum Ward for being the club's captain from 2012 to 2019, and helping to form the newer team into a respectable organisation, unlike some other newer clubs. Anyways, Lee Matthews is the best player ever from Hawthorn. Being one of the best players in the game's history and one of the faces of the league, Lethal Lee was a fitting nickname for Matthews in his playing days, spanning from 1969 to 1985. Some of his career achievements include 4 VFL premierships, 1 Coleman medal, 1 All-Australian nod and 8 club best and fairest. Over his career, Lee averaged 22 disposals, 5 marks and 3 goals per game. There are not a whole lot of players who compared to Lee at Hawthorn, but Sam Mitchell, Luke Hodge, Robert Dipper and Sean Burgoyne are some honourable mentions. The D's best all-time player is Ron Barassi. Another obvious choice here, Barassi winning 6 VFL premierships and 2 club best and fairest in his time at Melbourne, winning the most recent premiership in club history until this season. Some of Barassi's other career accolades include 3 All-Australian nods and 2 club leading goal kicker awards. I would provide some of Ron's career stats, but due to Barassi playing in the 50s and 60s, these stats aren't easily accessible. We can safely assume his stats were pretty good though. Other honourable mentions here go to both Jim Steins and Gary Lyon for their contributions to the club. Wayne Carey is the best player ever from North Melbourne. The Duck is one of the most storied players in the league's history, winning 2 premierships with the Kangas in the late 90s. Other career achievements for the Duck include 7 All-Australian nods and 4 club best and fairests, across 13 years for North and 2 years for Adelaide. Carey averaged 17 disposals, 7 marks, 1 tackle and 3 goals per game across his career. There are no real honourable mentions for this spot, as I think Duck is the clear-cut best player in North's history by far. Port Adelaide's best all-time player is Warren Tredrea, the club's all-time leading goal kicker in the AFL and an integral part of the club's only premiership in 2004 as their captain. Warren expressed tremendous leadership over his time as captain, collecting awards such as 4 club best and fairest and 8 club leading goal kicker awards. Over his illustrious career, Tredrea amassed numbers of 14 disposals, 7 marks and 2 goals per game. Gavin Wanganeen receives an honourable mention, as it was difficult to decide between these 2 players and their playing careers at Port. Dustin Martin is the best player ever from the Richmond Football Club. This may be a controversial pick, but due to Dusty's dominance in recent years within the league, along with 3 premierships, 3 Norm Smith medals and a Brownlow, I had to put him here. In his career so far, Dusty has averaged 25 disposals, 4 marks, 1 goal and 3 tackles per game, while being one of the most impactful players in the league and arguably one of the best. 2017 to 2020 marked some of the most successful years in the club's long history, with Dusty being one of the main leaders of that team. Kevin Bartlett and Jack Dyer both receive honourable mentions here for the Tigers' best all-time player. The Saints' best all-time player is Tony Lockett. With one of the greatest nicknames I've ever heard, Plugger, Lockett is arguably the greatest forward of all time, amassing a league-topping 1,360 goals over his career, 898 of those being kicked with St Kilda. Lockett also achieved awards including a Brownlow medal, 2 club best and fairest and 4 Coleman medals across his career. He also averaged outrageous stats, including 10 disposals, 8 marks and nearly 5 goals per game. There is not much debate for this position, as Lockett was so dominant in this period for the club. Bob Skilton is the best player ever from the Sydney Swans, or South Melbourne Swans. I didn't actually know much about Skilton before I had the idea for this video, as he is one of the best forgotten stars in the AFL's history. He amassed awards such as a measly 3 Brownlow medals, that equal most of all time, and 9 club best and fairests. Skilton averaged 26 disposals, nearly 2 goals and 4 marks across his 15-year career where stats were recorded, that being from 1965 to 1971. Honourable mentions here go to Adam Goods and Lance Franklin for both the Brownlows and Coleman medals which they achieved. The West Coast Eagles' best all-time player is Ben Cousins. This was a toss-up between Ben Cousins and Chris Judd, but I had to take Cousins due to his longer stint with West Coast and his contributions to the one club, whereas Judd had unparalleled success at Carlton after his time at the Eagles. Some of Cousins' career accolades include a Brownlow medal, being a premiership player in 2005 and being a 6-time club best and fairest. Over his career, Ben averaged 23 disposals, 3 marks, 2 tackles and 0.8 goals per game. EJ Winton is the best player ever from the Bulldogs. One of the most influential AFL players of all time, EJ Winton was a no-brainer for this choice, even when excluding off-field influence, recording a solo VFL premiership in 1954. Other achievements over his career include 5 club best and fairest and 3 All-Australian nods. Career averages for EJ list as follows: 16 disposals, 5 marks and 1 goal per game, in 6 years where his stats were recorded near the end of his career. Honourable mentions go out to Brad Johnson, Chris Grant and Bob Murphy for this position at the Bulldogs. Well, that concludes the best all-time player from every AFL team. Thank you guys for watching, as this video took a while to make. On a more serious note for the channel, more videos will be coming soon. And starting in the month of December, I'm going to be aiming to post weekly videos, giving you guys a lot more content hopefully for the foreseeable future. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this one. Remember to like if you enjoyed and subscribe for future sports field content. Have a good one and cheers.